And I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 9:32. So welcome everyone to the first meeting of the User Experience Advisory Group of fiscal year 22-23. Thank you all for volunteering to be on the committee. We've got a really great group of new members, returning members, and lots of CCS experience representing this committee. So let me just pull up the agenda, which I should have had pulled up already. I think what I wanted to do is start with introductions. So I know, again, a lot of you probably know each other, but there are some familiar faces on this group. So I thought we could go around and say your name, say your library, your role at your library, and then if you could also share something that you are excited about that you're working on at your library with the group. I think that'd be fun to kind of see what your all area of expertise and what's getting you excited at work. So I can start, and then we will go, I think, alphabetically by library, if that's okay. I'll pop the list in the chat so everybody knows the order, and I never feel bad because I'm going to make Gary go first because he's Algonquin, and I know there'll be a willing first person. So I can go first, though. My name's Deborah Wishmeyer. I'm the Member Services Manager at CCS. I've worked here for, I think, about 5.5, almost 6 years. I am normally not the liaison to the UX Advisory Group. That is Kathleen Weiss. She is currently out on leave, taking care of her little newborn. So I'll be your liaison until she is back later in the fall. One thing that I'm excited about at CCS that we are currently working on is a potential new library ad for 2023. The Warren Newport Public Libraries Board recently voted to join CCS. So that will go next to governing board in October for final approval. So it's always really exciting to have a new library potentially joining the CCS fam. So that is what is making me really excited. And Karen says they're coming back. Yes, they used to be members. So bring them back to the fold potentially.
Yeah.
So, all right, Gary, I'm going to pop it over to you.
Okay, I'm Gary Christofferson from the Algonquin Area Public Library. I'm Access Services Manager, which is kind of an umbrella for responsibility for technical services, technology, and I supervise the makerspace as well. So one of the things I'm really excited about is, whoa, are you hearing that too?
Is that a copier? Did someone print something? That sounded
Wow.
Somebody's printing something in my office.
All right, that's better. We actually are just are advertising for a 25-hour per week user experience staff member. And they will be responsible for all things public facing technology wise. So that is one of the things I think that will really help the library and will really help us out as well. So.
Karen, you're next. Uh-oh, your mic not be working, Karen. That's okay. We can circle around maybe and come back to you. So I don't think Pam is here. She was next. Then we'll skip over to Jake.
Okay, can everybody hear me? All right, so my name is Jake. I work at the Glencoe Public Library in Adult Services. I was on the UX committee last year, so I'm returning. Something exciting that I'm working on is I am on the Staff Development Day committee at the Glencoe Library, so I'm helping plan that for at the end of this month, our annual in-service day. So, yep.
Any exciting speakers lined up for that?
We have a speaker. One of our staffers saw him speak at PLA earlier this year. A librarian from Champaign or Urbana is stealing a session about diffusing difficult situations. So that's kind of the main event that everyone's excited about. So it should be good.
Awesome. Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Munoz. I'm from the Lake Villa District Library, and I'm the virtual services librarian, so I handle everything electronic, ebooks, and website related. And I'm excited. We're working on a project to bring a new intranet to the library for library staff. And so that one's a big project, but it should hopefully bring a lot of relief and collaboration to our staff.
That does sound like a big project, but you'll do great. All right, Jeff?
I'm Jeffrey Ray. I'm Circulation Services Manager at the Morton Grove Public Library. Of course, it's September Library Card Sign-Up Month, so been working with the marketing department here. We created a video. We have a new Hello project where the marketing department is working with translation services to promote all of our marketing for library cards and getting a library card in all the different languages that are represented here within Morton Grove. So we're trying to extend our reach. That's something cool we're working on right now.
I watched a bunch of your videos on Instagram yesterday, and they are adorable. So nice to hear. Jen, what about you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Hovanik, and I am the Circulation Manager for the Northbrook Public Library, and definitely happy Library Card Sign-Up Month. One of the great things that we have coming up in the next few weeks is that our library is going to non-expiry status for residents. We're going to jump on that NCOA database offering, so making it a little bit easier at the first point of service for our clerks, which is exciting. And we also recently had our board sign a resolution that all kids who are 18 and younger in Northbrook school boundaries get library cards for free. So we didn't have a big number under library cards for kids. However, we expect that number to jump because we have quite a few areas of unincorporated. So yeah, we're going to forge some new partnerships with the schools to share some data, and it's really exciting.
It is exciting. I'd only heard that Glenview had passed a motion, so it's nice to know that you guys did too. So congrats.
Our meetings were actually on the same day at the same time.
There you go, of course. I'll share that with the rest of the CCS team because they'll be excited. All right, Jasmine.
Hi, everyone. I'm one of two patron services coordinators at the Park Ridge Public Library. So I assist with like the supervision of patron services associates and pages. So one of the things we're kind of excited about, obviously, like everyone else or a couple people have mentioned, this library card sign-up month. Can't believe September 1st is already here. It's super crazy. And another kind of thing I'm excited about is I recently became like the webmaster administrator for the staff intranet. I believe someone else mentioned that they were working on that. So that's been very fun for me as well.
So much responsibility.
Yeah.
We have Meg, and then Karn, if your mic works, you can go after Meg.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Meg Golombeski. I am the Assistant Head of Adult Services here at the Prospect Heights Library. I have been a member of PASS, which is Patron Access Services for CCS for, gosh, I think 3 or 4 years now. And this year I'm actually serving as the head of that group. So that's exciting. And then I have previously been on UX, but I wasn't last year. So I was on it, then I was off, and now I'm back. And then exciting things that are happening at my library in my department. I am about to launch an automatic holds system for our patrons so they can sign up for like favorite authors, and we'll automatically add them to the holds list whenever those authors come out with a new release. So that's been exciting. So we've been exploring standing order and things like that that we haven't really done in our department before. And we also are finally bringing back in-person book clubs starting in October. So I'm going to be leading one of those. So that's pretty exciting too.
Okay, am I working now?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Great.
Okay. I'm Karen Nelson, the Purchasing and Acquisitions and Technical Services Manager at Fox River Valley Library. And what else am I supposed to do?
Something exciting you're working on at your library?
I don't have anything right now, but I'm excited to be part of this group because user experience was one of my favorite things in grad school. So I'm looking forward to getting more experience with that.
I will take that one. And we do have one guest here today, which is Adrian. Adrian, do you wanna unmute yourself and share something exciting you're working on and introduce yourself too? You don't have to. Okay, we won't make Adrian go, but we love to have guests here. So if you do have any coworkers who are interested in sitting in on a UX meeting, they're more than welcome to. It's a lot easier with Zoom for people to pop in as guests. So I always love to see non-group members joining us. Ooh, Adrian says, hello, everyone. She's the lead cataloger and is on Scrap. So she's on a different advisory group. Love to have you here, Adrian. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the approval of the March 2022 minutes for this group. I know most of you weren't at that group, but that is okay. So I distributed the minutes with the email with the agenda. Does anyone have any corrections? No corrections or adjustments? Okay, well, if there's no corrections, then the minutes are approved as distributed. We don't even have to vote on it, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I put together a simple PowerPoint. I wanted to take some time at our first meeting to go over the group and what this group does and what your responsibilities are, because I know several of you are new to the group this year. Give me just one sec to get my slideshow rolling. Gary, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see it? Okay. And can you see your own face, Gary? I'm sorry. Okay, let me just put that away. Okay, I can see no people right now. So if you have a comment or want me to stop, just go ahead, unmute yourself. And that way I can catch it. Okay, so here's our agenda really quick. I'm going to do an overview of the group. I'm going to give you a brief intro to the Vega Discover Development Partner Program. We have a Vega Discover search activity, and then another activity centering around Showcase. So more coming on those later agenda items. First, let's talk a little bit about the UX group and what you will be doing over this next year. So who is the UX User Experience Advisory Group? You're a cross-departmental advisor group, as I'm sure you figured out from the intros, that work with CCS staff to enhance the user experience across our patron-facing services. So typically when we talk about users, we're talking about end users, we're talking about our patrons. In some instances, though, we will be talking about users as library staff. So some of the items in which this group touches upon are, again, those patron-facing tools like catalog, customization, and config, our mobile apps, notices, and other things that patrons would touch. So some of the work that you do includes reviewing user research that CCS conducts or data that we gather, consulting with CCS on configuration changes, again, primarily for the catalog, but sometimes with other settings that impact patrons within Polaris, recommending new standardization across the consortia for patron-facing elements, and then helping CCS improve our documentation relating to the catalog and other best practices. So what are some past projects this group has worked on? Last fiscal year, this group helped CCS conduct an initial round of user testing for Vega Discover. We're going to talk more about Vega Discover in a little bit. The group also helped CCS code free text feedback from staff about Vega Discover. The previous fiscal year, 2021, the group helped CCS gather and analyze patron feedback and data around notices. So earlier this year, we rolled out improvements to email notices based on the user testing and the feedback gathered by the group in fiscal year 2021. And then looking farther back to fiscal year 1920, the user experience group helped CCS plan, conduct, and analyze multiple rounds of user testing in PowerPack, and then approve configuration changes based on that testing. So again, as you can see, this group really focuses on those patron-facing elements. So what is your job as part of the group? First and foremost, your job is to use your unique expertise and knowledge to represent both your library and the CCS community as a whole. So again, you have a unique perspective as staff members at your libraries. All of our libraries are really different. So it's really important to us that we have just a wide variety of libraries represented on this group. And then also kind of take yourself out of your individual library perspective and then think about the big picture CCS experience as well. This group has 4 advisory group meetings per year. All of our meetings this year will be virtual. We may need to schedule like additional meetings if there comes a need, like the meetings are too far apart, or we have sort of like an emergency, but you know, we need this group to do something ahead of, for example, a governing board meeting, etc. But typically you only have 4 meetings to attend. If we need you to, we may ask you to attend an associated technical group meeting like CAM or PASS. We haven't had to do that in the past couple of years, but that may be something we would ask a select number of this group to do. We also ask occasionally for you to engage in asynchronous conversation and research in between meetings, and then of course work with our team to present findings and recommendations as needed to other groups like technical groups or potentially governing board. Okay, so it seems like, wow, this is a lot of responsibility for me on this group. I have to decide things for everyone in CCS. But rest assured, this group typically is not the final decision maker when it comes to CCS-wide changes. So I wanted to walk you through our decision-making workflow that was approved by governing board a few years back. So there are various levels of recommendations and approvals that happen depending on the type of decision that's being made. So if the decision has no change to staff workflow and no financial or HR impact, so we don't all have to hire a new staff member or pay money for something, the advisory group will recommend a change to CCS staff, will like be the official approvers of the decision. And then we share that information with technical groups, governing board, and the rest of membership via CCS News. So an example of this one, thinking back to 2019, the User Experience Advisory Group worked with CCS to conduct some user testing around hold statuses that display to patrons in the catalog. And we came up with some changes to the hold statuses that display. So this group was able to recommend the change to CCS because there really wasn't any impact to staff workflow. CCS changed the values in Polaris. It immediately rolled out to patrons, so there was no money involved. There was no, again, workflow changes. No one needed to hire or change their staffing levels. Now, the next type of decision is when there's a change to staff workflow, but there's still no money involved or HR impact. In that instance, the advisory group would recommend the change to a technical group, the corresponding technical group, who would then vote to approve the change. This group typically doesn't have, I feel like, this type of decision to make, but an example could be like let's say in user testing, we find that patrons are really confused by how data from a field in the MARC record is displaying. And this group recommends that we change how we're cataloging things. I don't know if this would ever happen, but at that point, the advisory group would recommend the change to CAM, and CAM would discuss and vote on it. The next type of decision would be a decision where there's financial or HR impact, or we are adding a new service for all CCS members, or we are changing a policy. So an example of this would be the upcoming Vega Discover decision. If this group decides to recommend that CCS adopt Vega Discover, you would be recommending that to governing board or executive committee because it would be an add of a service, it would cost money. So this group, again, would recommend that to the higher ups. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I'm assuming no one is talking, so I'll move on, but if you have questions, just go ahead, unmute yourself. So what will we be working on this year? Our main fiscal year 22-23 priority is to recommend to governing board whether or not we adopt Vega Discover as our primary catalog interface or pursue alternate discovery interfaces if we don't think Vega Discover is a good fit for CCS. So this is our big project for the year. Other things may come up throughout the year, but this is what we will be focusing on for the bulk of the fiscal year. Okay, I'm going to stop my share really quick so I can see people. Anyone have any questions on any of that before we move on to talking about Vega? No. Okay. If you do have any questions about what's expected of you, don't hesitate to reach out and I can walk you through whatever your question might be. All right, so let's move on to the exciting things, which is talking about Vega Discover and the Development Partner Program. Okay, slide. Hold on, my slide won't advance here. There we go. All right, so what is Vega? I know many of you have heard of Vega before. We've shared information about Vega and our role in the partner program by CCS News. We've talked about it at some technical group meetings. So Vega is a new platform put out by Innovative, and Innovative is the company that provides Polaris, which is the software that we use. It's Leap, it's the client, etc. So Vega is a new platform put out by Innovative that is, when finished, comprised of multiple solutions, including Discover, which is the catalog interface, Promote, which is a suite of patron engagement and marketing tools like a newsletter or MailChimp equivalent, Analyze, which is a new data tool, Program, which is a library event software, and then Interact, which is a communication tool that allows you to send text messages, a chatbot you can embed in Discover, and more. So not all of these tools are complete yet. Vega Discover was the first product that was being developed as part of this larger suite of tools. So CCS is a consortia development partner specifically for Vega Discover, which is the catalog interface. As development partners, CCS participate in advisory discussions and usability testing or other activities with the other development partners. Our role in these meetings is really to speak to our unique needs as a consortia. Our needs are very different from those of standalones, so it's really important that we're participating in these development discussions because sometimes consortia features are like last on the list. So we're here to really talk about what we need and put them right in the center of the development discussions. Our job is also to identify development priorities or blockers. So what are blockers? Blockers are key features and functionality that we need in order to use the product. So an example of a blocker for a catalog would be separate interfaces for each library. Or like the ability to limit by owning libraries so that you could look just at Northbrook items versus everything. We also, farther down the line, will beta test Vega with actual patrons during the soft launch phase, and then throughout the process share our feedback with Innovative. So where are we at in the project? There's several phases in the project, and we are here in the gray box. So we joined the Development Partner Program. Years are hard, so I think it was at the end of 2020 in December, Executive Committee voted to participate. Since then, we've been participating in monthly meetings with Innovative's development team for Vega. We've worked with that team to establish our blockers or our key development items. And then since that list was established, Innovative has been working on developing those blockers. So we are like here, where Innovative is still working to develop our key blockers that we need to use the product. When Innovative finishes developing our blockers, we will move into soft launch phase, where we ask for volunteer libraries to beta test Vega Discover with their patrons. During that soft launch phase, CCS and our beta libraries will gather patron feedback and conduct user testing. Once that's done, CCS and this group will analyze, discuss that feedback. And then based on that feedback and other data we gather, we will come up with a recommendation for governing board about whether or not we should move to Vega Discover from PowerPack. Once we have that recommendation to governing board will vote. If they vote yes, we will roll out the new catalog. And if they vote no, we will kind of determine what our next steps will be. Currently, our plan in terms of timeline, it's shifted a few times because of delays in the development process for Vega. Our current anticipated timeline is that governing board would vote in January of 2023. So however many months away that is. So what is this group's role in the Vega Discover Partner Program? This group will review the different types of data that CCS gathers. It will help us with user testing as needed. We'll talk about our findings as a group, and then we'll vote on whether we want to recommend moving forward with Vega to governing board. Any questions on that? That was a lot of information I just pushed at you. So does anyone have any questions about Vega, the partner program? Karen says it's a quick timeline. It is and isn't, because we've been development partners for a long time now. But yes, January is right around the corner. We all know how fast a few months can go by. So we've got a lot of work to do in between now and January. Anyone have any other questions? Yeah, and so with that timeline in mind, I will say our next meeting isn't until December. It is possible, like we might need to call an additional meeting like in November ahead of that December meeting, because December is our next meeting, and I don't know if we'd be prepared at that time to have a recommendation for governing board. So we might need to squeeze in another meeting in between now and then. So I'll keep you posted on that. A lot of it is really dependent on the progress that Innovative can make in terms of our blockers in between now and then. Any other questions?
I have a question, and this may be because I haven't been on the side of it before. Is there a driving reason behind replacing PowerPack? Is there, what's our motivation, I guess, for making these changes, potentially?
Yeah, so we were approached by Innovative to participate in the program. So it's not stemming out of, I think, dissatisfaction with PowerPack, but rather we were approached by Innovative because we're a relatively large Polaris consortia. And they, I think, we've like been very active in the Polaris community. So I think that they were interested and knew we would be good dev partners. One other, I don't think it's the initial driving force behind participating, but Innovative has said that PowerPack development will basically halt. So, you know, they're putting a lot of their development and their resources into Vega Discover, and essentially will pause on improving PowerPack. So I don't think people and patrons have expressed dissatisfaction with PAC, the current catalog, but like being proactive, knowing that, you know, it's not going to have improvements. They're not going to add development items to PAC in the future. It's kind of like, do we just get ahead of that and start looking at this now? They're not sunsetting PowerPack, so I will say that. It's not like it's going to go away. But, you know, if they've said that they're not going to keep improving it, then, you know, we'll want to just keep our options open.
I had a comment. For some reason, I was thinking a big part of Vega was because of the problem with finding the same title but different formats. So wasn't Vega a big part of the development of saying if you wanted to say like Anne of Green Gables, you could do Anne of Green Gables search and then it would have the formats available all in one place rather than having to do all the filters and everything to find things?
Yeah, we'll talk about Vega and the format rollups, which are really awesome. I don't know if that is a problem in PowerPack, but I think it's an improvement in Vega Discover and some of these other newer discovery interfaces like BiblioCommons and Aspen, which we're also going to look at today. Any other questions? Those are really good ones.
I just have a quick question. Will our choice, like if we switch over to Vega or like a different catalog, would that affect the system that we use? Like, would it affect Polaris at all?
So Vega is built to work with both Polaris and Sierra, which is another Innovative ILS product. So no, we would continue to use Polaris for staff, and Vega would just be the patron-facing tool.
Okay.
Yes, we're not moving from Polaris. I love Polaris, so I would never want to move away
I
from
do too.
Good to hear you. Yeah, so this is just the patron-facing catalog, will not impact the software that staff uses. Okay, good questions. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to flip over to Vega Discover to give just a quick overview of the interface, and then we are going to walk into our searching activity. Okay, sorry, my computer is being a little pokey here. Okay. Hopefully, can someone just tell me if you can see Vega on your screen?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, thank you, Gary. So this is the landing page for Vega Discover. This is the system level interface. As you can see, Vega Discover is just very clean and unfussy here. Up at the top, we've got the logo and the library name. And beneath that is just a basic header bar, which we only have two placeholder links currently in here, but it can hold up to 7 links. Underneath that is the quick search bar where patrons and staff would type in their search terms. Up in the upper right hand of the screen, you can currently toggle the language from English to Spanish. It's the only other language available or that we have turned on at this time, though they're currently working on other translations. Next to that is a link to the help file, a drop-down menu that contains library hours. I'm sorry, this is not configured. So you'll see that these are very wrong at the current moment, but you can click through all of our different libraries. Next is your little list or bookmark bar, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then in the upper right-hand corner is the login button. I'm going to go ahead and just log in with my test barcode. And once I do that, it refreshed, you'll see that up in the upper right-hand corner, you see my nickname. If I click my name, you can see some basic information about my account, including checkouts, hold, the money I owe, which I'm just going to say I don't actually owe this money. It's all test fines and fees. This is the training database, so I'm not stealing books from all of our libraries.
That's what they all say.
I know. Okay, ignore that. And then you can see my home library and my card expiration date. Now I can either click here, I can click my checkouts, my holds, my fines and fees to pull up my account information, or you'll see at the bottom of the screen there is this bar that is my bookshelf. So I can click on either any of the tabs here or the little caret to expand my bookshelf. I currently have no checkout, so if I did though, you would see them display here. On hold, you will see my holds and whether they're ready for pickup or not. I can look at my horrible fines and fees, so we'll just go to the next one so we don't have to look at that. And then you will see just my basic profile, which includes my name, address, email, etc. The next tab in this menu bar is my bookmarks. So that's basically your list. So you would see any lists that I have created. If I had saved searches, they would appear here. If I've created any showcases, if I'm a staff member, you would see them in this tab. We'll talk about showcases in just a bit. And then you would see my reading history here. So I can minimize my bookshelf by clicking the caret, and then it just pulls me back to my main screen. So if I want to, do a search, I would just type it in the search box, click enter, or click the little magnifying glass, and then we would see our search results pop up. Now, I will just say for anyone using Vega right now, it is currently syncing with our training database, so you will find that it's just a little bit out of date. The training database was last updated in June, so we're looking at, we're about 2 months behind with data. So if you're not finding newer titles or your account is really odd looking, it's because this is just out of date. So once you type in your search terms, you'll see again the filters or facets appear on the left-hand side. And then you'll see your primary search results appear in the center of your screen. So Karin earlier referred to the format rollups of Vega Discover. So when you search for a title, Vega will roll up all different formats into the same card in your search results. So for example, if I'm looking for the book format, I would click the book tab, and then we have large print, audiobook on CD, audiobooks, which is Playaways. We're currently working on this with Innovative. Then we have ebooks or audiobooks and ebooks. So again, it's pretty easy for a patron to see all of the available formats for them and then to choose which one they would want. If, for example, you would like the large print and you're an Algonquin patron, you can see here that it is on shelf at least one location. And then you can see, oh, Algonquin, the checkbox is green. It looks like they have a copy on the shelf. If you're curious for more information about that copy, you can click the library name, which will pop up. I don't know what you would call this. I'll pop up another window or a sidebar that would include information about the Algonquin items, including call number, shelf location, etc. When a library has no copies available, there will be a red box or circle next to their name indicating to the patron that that item is not available for them to check out at this time. And then, of course, if no copies are available, the patron can just click the place hold button to place a hold. Now, if you click into a title, it will open the resource page, which has more information than displays in the hit list. There's an integration with Syndetics for Vega Discover. So Syndetics will populate some of the information you see on this page, including series information, reading level information, some read-alikes, some similar series, etc. There's some reviews at the bottom, awards, etc. There's a lot of information on this page now. They recently combined it into a single tab instead of two, and are doing some development work on that. So this is the basic gist of Vega. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share because I see I have some chats here. Okay, Meg says, obviously this is still in test format, but will it differentiate the answers based on its on shelf at the home library versus available somewhere else in the system? Yes, so I'm showing you right now the system level interface. So I think because I'm not in a library level, it's just showing you like availability for everyone. They're still doing some development. I'm gonna pull up what they call a collection site. That is what we would just call like your library pack. Pull it up for Algonquin. Okay, so here's an example of a collection site set up for Algonquin. Zoom in a little bit because I'm zoomed out. When I do the same search in the Algonquin catalog, which is currently limited to only Algonquin stuff, you would see only Algonquin results here. They're still doing some development here on showing all libraries, but like prioritizing or focusing on the Algonquin copies first. So when a patron is logged in with their card, it should be prioritizing or displaying the things available to them at their home library. In progress. Okay.
All right, yeah, that answers my question. Just, I know that's something that we already have problems with, that patrons will come in and be like, but I looked at it at home and it said it was available. And I'm like, it says it's available at Algonquin, not at Prospect Heights. It's not even close by. So that's good to know that we're working on that.
Yeah, so currently right now for the collection sites, again, those library level catalogs, there's really like two options. It's only show your stuff or show everybody's stuff. So they're working on like a happy medium between, again, showing your stuff initially, but then allowing patrons to lift that toggle to show system-wide holdings, and or just like improve that general experience to make it more obvious to the patron, is it at my home location or the location I'm searching or not.
Yeah, like a different color, like a yellow option where it's like available in yellow means like, you know, somewhere it's available, but not here. Something like that.
That's something,
Okay.
you know, we'll really focus on looking at with patrons when we get to user testing.
Great. All right. Thank you.
I see Adrienne mentioned that the lack of subject headings is a problem. So Adrienne, I think you're meaning that they're just not displaying prominently up at the top. Currently, the way they talk about subject headings is a little bit confusing. Currently, when you click into a title, you have to get all the way to the bottom right now to see top topics or headings. Right now in PowerPack, they're displayed up at the top of the full display, but here in Vega, they are farther down for patrons to click. So yeah, I think that'd be something we'd be really interested in some more patron feedback on. Adrian says, are the topics subdivided the way they are in LCSH? Can you give an example of that? I apologize. I'm not a huge subject heading expert. I'll wait for Adrian to pop out. So here on the the left-hand side as well. Concepts means subject headings. It's a confusing term. We do have the option to change the language that displays here if we find that concept is confusing to patrons. So there is facets available. Currently, these concepts only includes subject headings, but will a genre heading facet will be added later on. That is a good question, Adrian. I don't know. We'll have to maybe do some testing on that. Maybe while we do our activity, maybe I'll dig into how that's displaying. So while you guys do your searching activity, we'll dig into the heading situation. Corin says there's no brief bib info or librarian's view for Vega, which gives more details. So that is correct. I'm just going to open up another record here. There is no brief MARC record. Likely why this is, one, I don't really know if patrons use it or access that information, but also with the format rollups in Vega, they're consolidating multiple bib records into the same tab. So when you see book, this book tab is representing multiple bib records that match. They have the same author, the same title, etc. So it's like reducing the clutter you see in the hit list, consolidating all of the same books regardless of record into the same tab, and then providing like a more streamlined patrons to place their hold. And there's some logic behind Vega on which record it picks to place the hold. So when you open the full, I want to call it the full display. It's not what it's called in Vega. I think it's called the resource page. You can see the multiple records that are rolled up, for example, into this book tab. When you expand this information, you can see details on specific items. Again, I'm in the Algonquin collection site, so you're only going to see Algonquin items here. So you can see some item level information. And then if you click the eye icon here for more information, you'll have some basic information about the record itself that is being pulled in from the MARC record. They are in talks to add a MARC brief display, but that hasn't been developed yet, and I'm not quite sure what the timeline would be. So here, if you click on this info, you can see the bib ID that this edition is being pulled from. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit more into headings for Adrian while the rest of you are doing an activity. Does anyone have any other basic questions about the interface before we hop into our activity? No? Okay. Okay, so we have I put together a, get back to my phone. Okay, I put together a basic activity for us to compare results for popular searches across 4 different catalog interfaces to see if we see any significant differences in how those catalogs rank various titles within the search results. So Bob helped me pull together a list of the top 45 title searches in PowerPack from June of 2022. So we're going to use those search terms that, again, are really popular with patrons to complete the activity. So I emailed each of you 5 searches, and I have the link to them if you don't have yours handy, so I can give those to you. We're going to complete, each of you will complete 5 searches in each of these 4 catalogs. Vega Discover, PowerPack, Aspen, which is the Swan catalog, and then BiblioCommons, which is the upcoming Glenview catalog. As you complete your searches, you're going to complete a quick SurveyMonkey to basically track where the title appeared in search results and provide some additional feedback. Once we're all done, we'll come back together as a group and talk about your experience in the different catalog interfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the survey so I can just give you a quick walkthrough of what it looks like. I don't have multiple screens, so I'm sorry, I'm like sharing, unsharing. Okay. All right, so here is the SurveyMonkey. I'm going to pop the link into the chat. So it's pretty straightforward. You're going to complete the activity using the assigned search terms I sent ahead. I have links to each of the 4 catalogs we'll use. So put in your name, that's the easy part. And then when you click next, it is going to assign you to complete the search in one of the 4 interfaces first. So for example, this one is Aspen. What you'll do is you'll open the link to the Aspen catalog, which is the SWAN catalog. And then in that catalog, you'll complete search 1. So whatever your search term 1 was. And then when you complete the search, you'll say, did the title appear first in the results list, second, third, fourth or higher, but still on the first page of results, or the expected title didn't even appear on the first page of results. Then you'll repeat that for your second search term, your third search term, fourth search term, and then your 5th search term. After you complete the search, the 5 searches in Aspen, you'll just generally rate like how satisfied are you with your experience in Aspen. Very unsatisfied, ranging to very satisfied. And then we're really interested in your feedback or your observations. Did anything trip you up while you were searching? Was anything weird about the experience? Was there something that you really liked about your experience in the catalog? Something that you think was confusing? So whatever your comments or feedback or observations might be, pop them into the search box. Then you're done with Aspen, you'll click next, and it will move you on to the next catalog to test, which in mine is Vega Discover. So then you'll work through each of the 4 catalogs, completing the activity. And then when you get to the last one, you'll just click done. That will submit your results. And then we'll come back together as a group to talk about how it went. Okay, any questions? Pretty straightforward, I hope. Okay, all right, I'm gonna pop a link to the survey in the chat.
So you want us to keep the Zoom active and just do this on the side while we wait for everybody to complete?
You can like turn your camera off, do your activity. I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes. When you're done, if you can just pop done into the chat, when everybody's done, we'll come back together as a group. So you'll kind of just go do this independently over the next 15 minutes. And
Okay,
I'm gonna stay here. So if you have questions, I will answer them. Okay, so we'll come back together around 10:40. Okay, I think it looks like everyone has submitted the survey. So I think we can come back together and talk a little bit about your thoughts. Did anyone see, I guess, any major differences between either the results in one interface versus the others, or have just general comments about your experience in one or all of the 4? Go, Gary, you're like unmuted, you're ready.
I'm always ready. Well, I did notice in Biblio comments, I had trouble every time I did a new search trying to get the search to go, whether I started new or I cleared the previous search, even whether I pressed enter or hit the search icon, I had to do it multiple times before the search actually executed, which was very irritating.
That's, so that is, I will give Biblio Commons some benefit of the doubt. It is, I think, just not a test environment. I think it's live, but I think they're still working on some configuration. Glenview is moving to Biblio Commons, so it's not like, so it might just be a little wonky if it's a test version. So
we used Biblio Commons for a while, so I don't remember that behavior. So it just took me by surprise.
Keep tabs on that. Anything else, Gary?
I was surprised that Vega did not group the results as I expected them to.
In that things weren't grouped that
There
you
was still a hit list that I had to scroll through, even in Vega, because I was expecting something different when I got there.
Yeah, and I think that's something I noticed too when I was doing the activity. And I think that's something we have to look at. There's various logic used for the roll up. So certain fields have to match in order to roll up. So if we have variations in the title, in the author, things aren't like the same, they won't roll up. So I think if we decide to move to Vega, might have some cleanup work we have to do in the database to make sure things are very tidy.
Yeah, and the only thing I noticed is in Aspen, there were 2 or 3 that I only got a book hit for. Even after I scrolled, I only found the format of book in the hit results, and I can't imagine that there was only a book. So it must, even though it came up first, I couldn't find any other formats other than book for 2 or 3. I don't remember which ones, but I could go back and recreate it. I'll shut up now.
Anyone else have any feedback?
One of the things so my home library is Swan, so I'm pretty familiar with Aspen to begin with. One of the things that draws me, particularly thinking about working with patrons on how to understand the catalog, is coloring. And how, like, for example, in the BiblioCommons catalog, all the buttons are green, whether it's placehold or checkout or whatever the case may be. I find that misleading. But then on the display side, when it's saying which type, like large print or whatever, if it's unavailable, it's red here, but it's green here. Like, I wish there was some kind of balance between those two. It feels unbalanced to me. One of the things I really like about Swan is the way that, like, I'm looking at the Paris apartment, for example. I see book, audiobook, and large print all within that same kind of stacked return. And I didn't think I was going to like it. But then in comparison to how much real estate that huge summary takes on PowerPack, I guess I never really thought too much about it until now. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that streamlined look. And I particularly think about how it's going to look in a mobile view, knowing the amount of our patrons here that are active, like Northbrook app mobile users. So that's something too. But yeah, thinking about how coloring affects choice, I think would be something to keep in mind. And just like, again, like Gary said, kind of consistency. Like one of them, I don't think any of the things that I searched for was the very first like book result. And it was just, I don't know, you're looking for the same exact thing. And I tried to go into it like the way a patron would. So I didn't change any, I just did straight keyword searches, no capitals, no anything. I just put it in and went. And there were some times where I had to scroll to the second page to get what I was looking for. So it was, but I wouldn't know that if I'm just looking for the Lost City or whatever. So having that material type stack, I actually like that.
Yeah, and I think that we'll probably repeat this activity when we have Vega on a live production environment. There may be some relevancy sorting that's just a little off in training, like in the training version of Vega, because there's no checkouts happening, there's no polls, there's no like activity. So I think this is something we'll do again to see if it changes maybe at least the Vega rankings. Anyone else?
Deborah, you must have given me the easy quiz because pretty much everything came up on the first hit for me for the first result. The only one where it didn't was Vega, and it was Stranger Things, because there was a kid's book with that, and there were some other titles. So I assume we were looking for the Stranger Things television show. that came up near the bottom of the first page, but for every catalog, everything came up pretty much on the first result. I will say this, I love the way Swan's catalog looks. I agree with Jen that the top to bottom look for the formats is awesome in the record. And then when you click within the record, everything that they have available for a patron to access within a record is amazing. You have the read-alikes for title and author, you have the Goodreads reviews, you have published reviews, you have all the subject headings that are easy to find. I just love the way that Swans was laid out. I thought it was beautiful.
Score 1 for Swan.
Yeah. And I just want to share, and then I need to hop off because I have to go do a phone interview for a position in our department. So I agree with what others are saying, that I thought that Swans with the scrolling and like I liked the use of color in that. I did think that some of Swans looked a little clunky though for me, because I got a lot of the things where it's like, oh, do you want to explore more? And it's like this bar, and it just didn't feel like it was lined up correctly, and the color was kind of jarring all of a sudden, and it doesn't look as pretty. So I thought that that was something that was kind of obnoxious. Most of my results and almost all of them came up like within the first 2. However, the one thing that I think will definitely be interesting is how series work, because one of mine was to look up Wings of Fire, which as an adult librarian, I had to Google at first to just find out what it is. But it's a children's series, and so I assume we're looking for the most recent one. Oh my goodness, usually it was like number 20 in the results, because I was searching for not the actual title, I was searching for the series. So I'd be curious to see how if Vega is going to offer any kind of like grouping together some of those, because some of these seem to even be possibly graphic novels, which I know is always kind of a fun thing for catalogs. So but otherwise, most of mine did come up within the first or second results.
Yeah, thanks, Meg. And I know you have to jump off, so feel free to do so.
Yeah.
I will comment on the series. So right now, we've had so many discussions with the development team about how Vega handles series. Basically, that it's really not, it doesn't work the way we would expect it to in patrons, because series is included in the title index. So we have asked them to pull series out into like its own search index, so that series results, like you don't, so that they're separate, and they're looking at various fields in the MARC record that we want them to change and stop. So I will hopefully, have some updates for you on how Vega handles series, but that's good feedback to hear from Meg, that it kind of hampered her one search, because that's an example we can give to Innovative and like as, some good backup for what we're telling them, like the way you're handling series right now isn't good for patrons. So that's one reason we had you do this activity, is to help us find things that don't work, so we can take it to Innovative and say, fix it or make it better. And here's an example to back that up. Any other feedback to share?
I did have one more, and that was one of the things I really liked in BiblioCommons that jumped out at me was one of my searches, there was nothing available in any format. And at the bottom of the list was this red while you wait link, which was a link to read-alikes, which I found very interesting and helpful.
That is really nice. It's a good feature. Okay, Karin asked in the chat, will we be able to get our survey results to help us remember the comments we gave? Yes, so I will put together a summary of the results and then a summary of the comments, and I'll send it out to this group. We'll also probably present some of the findings to governing board in October as well, just a quick summary of like, hey, we did this activity, here were our results, here's some feedback, just to give them some context and some like insight into what they're doing. All right, before we move on, anything else to share? Again, we'll use the feedback you gave So you guys are not patrons, right? You are the highest of highest level of patrons. So you're really not representative of most of the people that use the catalog because you are wonderful experts. However, we will use some of the pain points you pointed out as things that we would want to look at with patrons. So like if you had a hard time with using a facet, or you probably didn't use a facet, but like if you thought something was jarring about Vega, that was probably something we would actually want to test and look at with patrons. So we'll use your feedback to help guide us when we start gathering patron feedback later on in the year. Oh, shucks, Carrie says. Okay, all right. Ready to move on to our next item? Okay, the last item on our agenda today is talking a little bit about showcase creation workflow. I asked the innovative development team what they could use some feedback on from staff, and they were like, showcase workflow. So I want to walk you through what showcases are, how to make one, and then I'm going to have you use the staff credentials I sent ahead of time to log into Vega and test making your own showcase so that we can talk about what could be improved in the workflow. So what is a showcase? A showcase is essentially the equivalent of a PowerPack carousel. In PowerPack, you can make carousels that display in the catalog and or generate code to use on your website that are keying off of items or titles in a record set. Never fear, Vega, they've heard a lot of feedback from Polaris libraries of like, but what about our record set carousel? So they are currently working on a way to make a showcase based on the contents of a record set. But in the meantime, they've released like this first iteration of making carousels in Vega. And I'm going to walk you through the workflow for that right now. So let me share my screen. Yeah, Gary.
Will this be something the local library can do?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yay.
So Vega permissions are like a little bit weird right now. They are based on staff, or you log into Vega with basically a patron barcode that has been given staff permissions. So we're working with Innovative now to fix that, to hopefully allow you to log in to Vega Discover with your like Polaris staff credentials instead of using a barcode. But in the meantime, you have to use the barcode. Okay, so how do you make a showcase in Vega? You start out by essentially making a list. So let's say I want to make a showcase for Rebecca Caudle books. You start your showcase creation by searching for a title. So I'm gonna just initiate my first search. And then when I find the title that I want to add to my showcase, I will click the saved button in the upper right-hand corner. So you can see I already had saved that one, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it again. Now it's going to default to your for later list. But what you would just do is click that drop down and then create a new list. You can see I already created a Rebecca Caudle list, so I can either just add it to that, or if I wanted to make an entirely new list, I would click new list, type in the name, and then click done. And it would think, and then it would save the title to the new list that I created. Now, when you make a showcase, you do want to make sure that you are in the right format. So I was in the book tab. If you wanted to make a showcase of really great audiobooks, you could click into the audiobook tab and save it from that tab. So then again, I'm just going to go through and click or find all of my titles. I'm going to do Wink next. Again, I want to find the correct format to add to my list. So in this instance, I want to make books. So again, I would click the Save button, add it to the correct list. and then I would be done. So now when you add all of your titles to your list, you'll go ahead and open your bookshelf, click over to your bookmarks tab, and then you would see all of the lists that you've created. So you can see I created this previously as a test, but I'm going to use this new one I created to show you how to actually generate the showcase. So you find your list that you made with all of your titles, and then what you want to do is click the three dots that would expose your menu and click Create Showcase. This would bring up your Create Showcase window where you can enter in various details like the name of the showcase, which will show to patrons. Change the name to this. You can adjust your sort order, newest, oldest, title, ascending or descending. You can choose to display the showcase on a record page. If you uncheck this, it wouldn't show anywhere in Vega Discover, but you could still use the code generator to display it on, for example, your website. You can choose if you want to show it was created by you. So if you're like very proud you made this, you can have your name display underneath it. And then you fill out some various information about the showcase, including fiction or nonfiction, who is your audience, and what format the showcase is in. Then when you've completed this, you would click Save and Publish to make it live. So what does it mean when a showcase is live? If you checked the display on title page, that means that anytime a patron clicks into that title record, they would see the showcase that you made displayed on the title page. So it's a great way to, encourage patrons to find similar titles that they may like. You can also, with the showcase, if you wanted to, click your little menu here and click Generate Showcase. This would allow you to generate code that you could use on your website so that you could highlight the showcase elsewhere, your newsletter, your website, wherever you might want to feature it. There are, especially for Polaris Libraries, we're a vocal bunch in the development partner group, there are discussions about being able to add showcases here to the landing page so that you can easily highlight and create carousels for your patrons. Okay, any questions? That was a very quick overview, but it's relatively easy to make the showcases. So what I would like you each to do next is to just walk through those steps using the staff barcode and PIN number that I sent you. So what you'll do is you'll log into Vega using those credentials. You will make a showcase of, 5 titles. It doesn't have to be very many. You will add those titles to a new list, and then you will convert that list to a showcase. And then when you're done, we'll just come back and talk about what was clunky about the workflow, what was confusing, what would make showcases better and more functional for you or for your library, and then any other feedback that you have. And then I'll go ahead and I'll pass that feedback on to Innovative. So go ahead, I'll give you guys 10 or 15 minutes to walk through that. And if you have questions, I'll be right here to answer them. Karen had a question in the chat about how to publish. So you should be able, from your bookmarks tab. Okay, so if you have saved your showcase, you've converted your list to the showcase, but you haven't published it, let me just walk through here. You can go to your settings. So you're in the showcase, you saved it but didn't save and publish. It's listed as a draft. You can click the settings cog in the upper right-hand corner and then click publish. And then you should see then an unpublish button, which should mean that it is published. So Karen, I hope that helped.
Sorry, where is that publish button?
I don't have a publish button.
Okay, I'm gonna try to log in as one of you. That's odd.
But I was able to do everything else.
Okay, but
Same.
that's good, but no publish button. You should also have the option to publish. Unless for some reason showcase. Okay, everyone, I'm digging into why publish it. I see no reason why you shouldn't be able to publish them. Okay. Gary, can you log out and log back in? Great. And see if you can publish it now.
I've found my way where I needed to be, so you can disregard my previous chat. I think I'm on the right track here.
Okay, I'm slightly tweaking your everyone's permissions here to see if maybe this will let you publish them. So you may need to, I apologize, log out and log back in, but this is good to know that permissions aren't working.
Okay, I will do that now.
Okay, I saw the publish under the 3 dots. So
Okay.
I hope that worked.
Okay, so,
Mine as well. I was able to publish it now.
okay, good. So, cool. We found one problem is the permissions don't work the way they should. So I will send that immediately on to Innovative. You're all our admins right now, so don't abuse your power.
Oh, yes, we promised to only use it for good.
I would send you the admin login, Gary, the URL. Okay. All right, so it seems like that slight tweak to your permissions worked. The original set of permissions did not work as expected, but that's okay. That's why we test. So Karen asked, how do you test to see if your showcase shows up when people do searches? So you can search for one of the titles in your showcase and see if it appears on the title page for that book. And hopefully that worked, Karen. feel like I heard once in a dev partner meeting that they eventually showcases could be searchable, like they would show up in search results. They don't now though, so you could find them, patrons would find them by looking at the title page. Again, currently that showcase card displays at the top if that title is part of a showcase or multiple showcases. And then the other discovery method would be if you embedded the code onto your website for the carousel. But there's some, I think, development items in the work to make them viewable other places too. Okay, all right. Anyone have any thoughts on that workflow? Any areas in which you, aside from the permission issue, any areas in which you think they could improve that creation experience for you, and or things you liked, things you didn't like?
I like that I was able to see everyone else's showcases. As the person that puts collections on the website, it will make it really easy for me to grab other staff members' collections.
Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth, I have a question for you. When it comes to permissions for showcases, like what's your ideal flow? Like, do you want to be able to approve showcases and only approved showcases would show to patrons? Do you want to be able to see showcases made by other libraries? Do you only want showcases made by your staff to show in your catalog?
I guess I would like probably not to see other libraries' showcases, just because it might get chaotic. When you look at record sets, just our own library's record sets, there's a very long list. And then what else? I'm sorry, what else did you ask?
Yeah, but so when it comes to like managing showcases created by our library, do you, in your ideal world, would you or someone have basically approval permission, right? To be like, okay, they made the showcase and then it goes to you or someone else, like another manager, to approve it to show? Or are you like, that's too many steps, I just want it to show right away? I see.
I guess it depends on where it's displayed. If it was to be on the front of the catalog search page, I would like one person or, one level of permission to have that. Not all staff. As far as making them and sharing them on like social media or something like that, I guess our library wouldn't care as much because we have a gatekeeper for our social media channel. So anyone could create them and send that person the link.
I would concur with that and add that being able to see other libraries' carousels now, showcases possibly in the future, would be very helpful, but have the ability to use them or not use them. So, have a checkbox display at Algonquin Area Public Library PAC.
So you want to be able to say, show it in Algonquin. You do not want Elizabeth to say, show this in Algonquin's catalog.
Correct. No offense.
Yeah, and I can see, so what Elizabeth said, like currently it's just like one level. If you made the showcase and it's published, it is showing in the catalog to everyone. So I think we do need some sort of level of like, show it in my catalog. Let other people decide if it should show. Can anyone think of a situation in which someone would make a showcase and we would want it to show in everyone's catalog without any sort of toggle on, toggle off?
That we would want it to show, did you say?
Yeah, that like you would make a carousel, Gary, and everyone would want it without needing to check a box to opt in.
Well, that goes without saying, but
Book awards.
The joke.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of was book awards. Like we would make a showcase centrally and just turn it on for everyone, but I suppose it wouldn't be too cumbersome to say we made the showcase, toggle it on if you want.
I would say to have it work like promotions do now, so that you would select which interfaces they show up in. And I can think of an example where we've cooperated with programming at different libraries and we created a promotion that then we shared with other libraries that were helping us sponsor that particular program.
So like you can make a carrot, like I call it carousel, a
Me too.
showcase that you think would be of
Yes.
interest to other people, and you could send out an email to the listserv and be like, hey, I made the showcase. If you want it, here's the name.
Yeah.
Go turn it on.
Exactly.
Okay. So you wouldn't care that someone would like borrow your showcase. You'd be like,
We would be proud to have someone
You're like
borrow our
charging
showcase.
$20 for every showcase you use or something. Okay. Anything that was clunky about the experience that you think could be better?
Seemed like there was a lot of settings that I didn't understand what I was supposed to do with it. If I had multiple formats in one showcase, did I have to do something with that format button? Because I didn't do anything.
I don't think so. Oh, so you mean like with the those checkboxes at the bottom?
Yeah, they had all those different groups of things I didn't check.
Can you check multiple? Can you check multiple checks? I didn't look to see if
Yeah.
you could do.
I would assume you
Okay.
could.
So
Yeah.
I don't think that those boxes right now have any functionality in them. It's more for future development. For example, if you were to use their marketing tool Promote, like they could use like patron preferences, right? Like if a patron's like, my preferences are fiction books and I like books for teens and I only want audiobooks, that those checkboxes can later be used to basically push out recommendations to patrons down the line. Again, I think they just put that functionality there now with the intent that later it could be used to like auto-populate some targeted reading suggestions for patrons.
So
yeah.
is showcases going to be instead of how we have like our library of things or our left nav stuff now in our OPEC? Is that instead of that, or would we still have access to what we've already made in there?
So Vega doesn't have that, like the dashboards on the left-hand side. They only currently have the header links across the top. So what you currently have in PAC, if we're to move to Vega, that functionality wouldn't translate over. So showcases is one way you could like replicate a carousel or a record set that exists in PAC and make sure those like materials were easily findable in one place. As I mentioned earlier, though, Polaris Libraries have been pretty emphatic that we need to be able to build showcases on record sets because we have them already built in Polaris. We don't want to lose that. So I know it's on their development list. I think it's not as high a priority as some other things like e-content integration, but you know, we're pretty loud advocates for utilizing record set functionality because we've done a lot of work to automate the creation of those record sets and we don't want to lose it. So
Is there a limit to the display? I'm sorry. In showcases, is there a limit to the number of items that can display?
That is a good question. I don't know. I haven't heard that there's a limit, but I can see in their documentation if they, I don't think there is. There may be a limit to the carousel format, right? If you're gonna like build it. I know in PowerPack, the limit for those carousels, I think is 50. I think you can build a showcase with more than 50 things. So I don't know. I haven't tested using the code somewhere else. So if anyone like has a sandbox that wants to test that code, I would love for you to do that. Is there a limit of how many things you would want in a showcase? Or you want it to not be limited?
I hadn't thought that through, to tell you the truth. I'm not sure why you would want a showcase with more than 50 items in it, although.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. And again, hopefully that they make the showcases for that landing page just to spice up the plain white.
But if the limit was 6 or 8, then that would be a problem.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Jasmine says, are you able to choose or change where a particular showcase shows up in relation to other lists that might come up? That's a good question. I'll have to, let me check on that and see. I don't know what the order is. So if, for example, there's 5 showcases with the same title, what's the order? I'll do some testing. I don't know if it's alphabetical by the title, ordered by the creation date, so I could figure that out. Okay. Well, I will leave your accounts with this permission for a little while longer. So if you guys want to continue to, yeah, Gary, you're on vacation though, so don't you do any more testing today. I'll leave them with the admin permission for a little bit longer, and then I'll probably disable it next week. So if you want to do some more testing today, go ahead and do it before I switch over the permissions. You're welcome to use these cards though to just continue to log in and play around with Vega. The more familiar you get with Vega, I feel like benefits us down the road as we're looking to recommend a decision to governing board. So feel free to, again, access Vega, play around, send me questions, send me feedback. We do really appreciate that. And with that, we are at 11:30. So we are ready, I think, unless anyone has anything else for the group, to adjourn the meeting. Anyone have anything else?
So what is our charge now before our next meeting? Just to familiarize ourselves with Vega?
Yes, at this time I don't have any specific homework for you ahead of the next meeting. I think CCS needs to, sorry, I'm just reading Karen's chat. I think we need to talk a little bit with Innovative about realistic timeline for our soft launch and like gathering additional patron data. If I do have any homework for you, we'll send that out probably next month or early November. So look to hear from me sometime in October. I don't think I'll have anything for you though in September.
There's always that one kid in the class. What's our homework for tomorrow?
Flat homework. I will tell, like, we are waiting for Innovative. They are working on e-content integration right now. That is the big thing. It's most of the development times being focused on that. There's really little for us to do in terms of testing e-content integration because they're still trying to figure it out. So it's likely once that's done, I might need to rope some of you into testing the integration itself by checking out ebooks, placing holds, etc. But it's not quite ready. So again, I might have some homework for you, but I'm not anticipating anything in the next 2 weeks. So rest up. All right, well, with that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 11:29. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 1st currently, but as I mentioned earlier, we may need to have a meeting earlier than that, potentially in November. So I'll reach out to you guys if we, like, as soon as we know. So thank you all for a really productive meeting. You guys are wonderful.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.